It's Tuesday, October 20. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Epsilon. We begin with the latest COVID-19 update from the health authorities.
The island recorded one COVID-19 related death over the last 24 hours, bringing the overall tally to 174. The deceased is an 85-year-old male of a St. Anne address. 53 new cases were reported on Monday, bringing that total to 8,374. According to the Health and Wellness Ministry, 51 recoveries were also recorded, bringing that number of recovered cases to 4,002. The number of active cases now stands at 4,085. And at this time, there are 22 moderately ill and 9 critically ill patients. 168 persons are currently hospitalized. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
The number of countries now involved in the COVAX vaccine program has moved to 184. Director General of the World Health Organization gave details at a press conference in Geneva on Tuesday.
I'm pleased to announce today that now 184 countries have now joined COVAX. The most recent countries joining over the weekend are Ecuador and Uruguay. COVAX represents the largest portfolio of potential COVID-19 vaccines and the most effective way to share safe and effective vaccines equitably across the world. Equitably sharing vaccines is the fastest way to safeguard high-risk communities, stabilize health systems, and drive a truly global economic recovery.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, women who are victims of physical and sexual assault were in need of emotional, psychological, and financial support. The few safe houses across the country required support to manage needs that have increased since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government of Jamaica, with assistance from the Canadian High Commission and the European Union, is investing millions to meet their needs, in part with the nationally funded women shelters. The first is to open shortly. More in this report.
The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted life as we know it. Social norms and work schedules are just some of the ways that has been affected. Yet in the midst of all these upheavals, some things have not changed. The scourge of domestic violence still hangs over the society. In fact, the pandemic has magnified the challenges that abused women and children face. The government of Jamaica allocated over $86 million to purchase property for 3 nationally funded women's shelters. The first shelter will be operational soon.
We're just about ready. Of course, we're fine-tuning some protocols in terms of the operation and just to cross the T's and dot the I's.
We have seen that the COVID-19 pandemic has put additional pressures on families as they are in isolation, and none too soon. This is a timely undertaking, and I'm heartened to see that it has the space and the capacity to be able to welcome women and their families from Jamaica, and in particular in this region.
Gender Minister Olivia Grange says the shelters are absolutely necessary. The facility, which comprises studios and 1-bedroom units, offer women and their children fleeing from violence a safe space to heal emotionally and physically.
We can take in, I would call them clients, and take care of a family. We actually have most of the rooms ready. There are just 2 unfurnished rooms. The other rooms that are ready can take additional furniture because we want to make the facility as comfortable as possible. So we can do with television sets and bunk beds and desk, toys for the kids and so on.
One of the areas that the Canadian High Commission has been involved in is supporting the government of Jamaica and the ministry in formulating the strategic plan for combating violence against women. And an integral part of that has been to source and put in place women's shelters. We continue to support women, especially any programs that are there to respond to the gender-based violence symptoms that we have here, and we do so through our Canada Fund for Local Initiatives, also our Women's Voice and Leadership Program that directly fund groups, organizations that are looking to empower women of Jamaica and respond to their needs as well.
The government's goal is to have a nationally funded women's shelter in each parish. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin and culture is like a tree without roots. Those words from the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Jamaica celebrated the national heroes on Monday, and Prime Minister Andrew Holness, in his National Heroes Day address, urged Jamaicans to not forget the country's modern-day heroes, the country's frontline workers, for the critical role they play in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today, on behalf of a grateful nation, I say to them, thank you. We first celebrated National Heroes Day on October 20, 1969, in honor of the heroic Jamaican stalwarts who, through pride and resilience, sacrificed their blood, sweat, and tears and lives to ensure that all Jamaicans today enjoy political independence and the freedom to strive for our economic independence. On this day, we hail the first named national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, whose advocacy and ideas gave birth to the Universal Negro Improvement Association that sparked revolutions. We also recognize the individuals among us who have been galvanizing forces contributing to our community and country at large. Persons who have inspired true heroism and nationalism through gallantry, innovation, and service.
Mr. Holness noted the contributions of our heroes to Jamaica's journey to independence. He also encouraged citizens to stay optimistic during the global pandemic.
While the onset of COVID-19 has temporarily set back our progress, your government is optimistic about our recovery. We are resilient, strong, and together we will build forward stronger. As we celebrate National Heroes Day 2020, under the theme, Celebrating a Heritage of Resilience and Pride, I remind all Jamaicans to display the resilient spirit we are known for by continuing to observe the COVID-19 protocols. Wear your masks, wash your hands, sanitize, and social distance.
Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips, in his address, urged Jamaicans to draw strength from the lessons taught through the triumph of our national heroes.
Each faced formidable challenges, but confronted each problem with resilience and a determination to overcome. Heritage Week and National Heroes Day gives us the opportunity not only to reflect on our history, but to honor those who contribute to nation building.
Dr. Phillips urged fellow Jamaicans to play their part in combating the COVID-19 pandemic and bear in mind those on the front lines.
Let us never forget that they do so at great personal risk and sacrifice. They show us what service above self and beyond the call of duty really means. We can never thank enough our health workers who continue to give service in the most challenging conditions in our hospitals and clinics.
The Senate has given its nod to a bill that would make the process of authenticating local public documents intended for use overseas and foreign documents to be used in Jamaica become simpler, more efficient, and less time-consuming. The Authentication Foreign Public Documents Bill 2020 has received assent in both houses of Parliament. Leader of Government Business in the Upper House, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, piloted the bill.
So you'll recall, Mr. President, that only 2 or 3 years ago, Jamaica for the first time became party to a convention under the auspices of the Hague Conference on Private International Law, the Hague Abduction Convention. And this has already begun to improve the cooperation between Jamaica and key global and regional partners in protecting our children. The bill before us today will facilitate our accession to yet another Hague Conference convention. And indeed, of all the conventions under the auspices of the Hague Conference, the Apostille Convention is the one which enjoys the largest participation by states. 118 countries across the world, from all major regions, representing all major legal systems, are parties to the convention. So that an apostille that is issued in respect of a document is accepted by all countries which are party to the convention.
It will facilitate a more simplified process by only requiring an approved authentication certificate as proof of legalization of public documents. This is the apostille certificate, which is issued by an authority designated by the state in which a public document originates.
Some of the most frequently processed documents now under our current system at the Foreign Ministry, just to give you a sense of the scope of use of the authentication process and therefore what will be used under the apostille process, include birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, educational certificates, adoption certificates, medical documents certified by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, divorce decrees, probate letters of administration, police certificates, declarations, shipping documents. You name it, Mr. President, it is there. Similar documents that are required in transactions which are signed before a justice of the peace or notary public, corporate documents, and so forth.
Senator Johnson Smith noted that this need for verification has given rise to a process of legalization, which is ordinarily facilitated through the Foreign Affairs Ministries, High Commissions, embassies, and consulates globally. She says the government is aware that the traditional process of legislation or legalization is an impediment to the efficient conduct of business and is committed to making Jamaica a place where both nationals and non-nationals can do so conveniently.
We recognize that Jamaicans continue to expand their reach globally, and we're therefore committed to taking the necessary steps to facilitate them, particularly our diaspora, Jamaican nationals and companies accessing legitimate opportunities internationally. Given the almost universal nature of the Apostille Convention, it significantly will support the ease of doing business across international borders and will reduce, although not eliminate, the costs of such services.
The bill, which was passed with 12 amendments, will now go before the Governor-General, His Excellency Sir Patrick Allen, for his signature, after which it will become law. Jamaica is now a part of the leadership of the 36th Regional Conference of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green has been unanimously voted as Vice Chair of the conference. Green, in representing Jamaica, is urging the FAO to utilize its capacity in resource mobilization to help small island developing states with the challenges they face. The minister was speaking on day one of the three-day regional conference on Sunday. The conference, which is being hosted by Nicaragua, brings together ministers of agriculture from the regions to combat the challenges related to food and agriculture, while strengthening regional ties with member states. We now join Gabriel Thompson for the business report.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 5,027 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 76 stocks, of which 39 advanced, 32 declined, and 5 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 19 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 students living in Jamaica, CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, and Caribbean Cement Company. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Burrito Investments Limited. Trading firm were Berger Paints Jamaica, Siboney Group Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with 24.5 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with 2.8 million units, and Epli Caribbean Property Fund Limited SCC with just over 1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, October 16, ended trading at $146.64. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $110.81. The pound sterling traded for $191.75, and the euro ended trading at $174.60. Oil prices fell on Tuesday on worries that a resurgence of coronavirus cases globally is stifling a recovery in fuel demand, while growing Libyan input data adds to already plentiful supply. Brent crude futures fell 34 cents to $42.28 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 15 cents to $40.68 a barrel. And that's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, despite pandemic restrictions in St. Lucia on the weekend, first responders were busy with calls to collisions across the island. Gov't reports.
Pandemic restrictions were not enough to tame the unbridled, helpless spirit of some St. Lucian motorists, with traffic crashes across the island this past weekend. From Cap Estate to Mola Chic, ambulance crews and traffic police were racking up the mileage on the odometer in response vehicles as they rushed to road accident and emergency scenes.
For the weekend of October 16th to 19th, the fire service recorded 101 ambulance responses, inclusive of both the north and the south of the island. 10 of the recorded calls were motor vehicular incidents and 6 were calls relating to physical assault. A total of 14 responses for the weekend were COVID-19 related. There were no fire calls for the weekend.
First responders in the south were summoned to a crash at Monrepo after a vehicle careened into a riverbank after veering off a mound near a bridge.
Officers at the Miku, Viewfort and Denry fire stations responded to a call on Sunday, 18th October at approximately 6:38 p.m. The information received stated that a vehicle had veered off the road in Mamico, Monrepo. Emergency personnel found on the scene one vehicle with its sole occupant suspended on the riverbank adjacent to the bridge. The occupant, who was the driver of the vehicle, was conscious and complained of pain to his head and back. He was administered oxygen and his vehicle was completely immobilized by the rescue crew. The patient was subsequently extricated and in a stable condition transferred to the ambulance for further examination. Rapid emergency transportation was then provided to the St. Jude Hospital, where he was left in the care of medical personnel.
Despite a raft of road safety campaigns, motorists continue to fail to heed the warnings to proceed with due care and attention on the island's narrow and meandering roadways. Appeals for tougher traffic laws, greater enforcement, and the use of devices like speed guns and breathalyzers have largely withered on the vine. For years, some regional road safety advocates have rallied support for the introduction of breathalyzers by law enforcement in St. Lucia. However, lawmakers, policymakers, and bureaucrats have been found wanting in implementing sound and effective law enforcement deterrents. Colby DeVoe, HTS News Force.
Skip trick-or-treating and Halloween parties this year for those who participate. This from officials of the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago, who say these events can cause a spike in COVID-19 cases. Crystal Wilson has more in this report.
A massive increase in COVID-19 infections. This is the risk involved in taking children trick-or-treating or having Halloween parties this year. So says head of pediatrics at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Center, Dr. Joanne Paul, who was a member of Monday's Ministry of Health's virtual media briefing to update on COVID-19 matters. According to Dr. Paul, it's imperative parents keep their children away from what she described as super spreader events, and she named Halloween celebrations as one of them.
Strongly recommend that we do no trick-or-treating, no Halloween parties. We'll be going back in a few weeks' time, we'll spike again, and we'll go back to the same situation. So imagine, if you will, we go trick-or-treating with our kids. We go from house to house to house. After we do that, we now have about 100 persons exposed, the same persons. Obviously, we're transferring the same virus, and there's a risk of surge.
The pediatric doctor said instead parents can find creative and meaningful ways to spend time with their children.
Have Halloween hikes. Go on a hike with your child. Have it where you can have games night or even have movie night. You can actually stay at home and stay in your Halloween pod. So maybe a few persons, and you can actually have your mask. You can pretend anything, have games there, and you can have your sweets or non-sweets and have your own Halloween tradition.
Dr. Paul also called on adults to get accustomed to the new COVID normal. She explained with the possible reopening of the economy looming, it was important to fight the urge to join large gatherings.
If we have super spreader, if we have big lines, we have no mask, and the virus thrives on having that super spreader event. So once we have that situation, it gets more excited, there's much more spread. With more spread, we have a bigger surge of infection. What happens next? We have restrictions and we have the economy being flattened, and we don't want to go there.
Dr. Paul said culturally, Trinbagonians have grown accustomed to freedom and large gatherings. But with this freedom, especially during this pandemic, comes the need for great responsibility. Crystal Wilson, TTT News.
Tuesday is a big day for students in Barbados. The island's education minister is to announce this year's exhibition and scholarship winners. More from Barbados today.
The announcement comes even as the Caribbean Examination Council is expected to release the report of the independent review panel, which analyzed the administration of this year's CSEC and CAPE examinations. The results were rejected as flawed. Lead committee spokesperson for the group of concerned parents of Barbados, Paula Ann Moore, is looking forward to the findings, and she makes it clear that parents will not rest until relevant improvements are made ahead of next year's examinations.
We are very thrilled with the acknowledgement by our Prime Minister demonstrating her regional leadership as she acknowledged that the children have been treated suboptimally, and she has demonstrated her regional leadership in indicating that the Ministry of Education will cover those grade review costs. We have indicated that we reject in principle that CXC, even with a reduced fee, would still be advocating that there be any reduced fee, in view of the fact that clearly the grades need to be reviewed because of systemic challenges, which we still maintain CXC is a part of. So while we welcome Ms. Motley's leadership, we trust that the other ministers of education throughout the region also come with a united policy.
In sports, we go to football. Reggae Boyz manager Roy Simpson says they are determined to assemble a balanced squad for their international friendly matches against hosts Saudi Arabia next month. Reggae Boyz are scheduled to end their 8-month hiatus from international football against the Green Falcons as they start their preparations for FIFA World Cup final round qualifiers next year. Both matches on November 14 and 17 will take place at the Prince Faisal bin Fahad Stadium in Reggae. Jamaica haven't played any international friendly since Bermuda on March 11 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the weather update, at 4 a.m., the center of tropical storm Epsilon was located near latitude 25.6 degrees north, longitude 54.7 degrees west. Epsilon is moving toward the east-northeast near 6 kilometers per hour. A turn toward the north-northwest is expected later today, with a general northwestward motion expected through Thursday. On the fast track, Epsilon is forecast to approach Bermuda on Thursday. Maximum sustained winds are near 75 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. Gradual strengthening is expected during the next couple of days, and Epsilon is forecast to be at or near hurricane strength by Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And that's the news. Thanks so much for watching. Join us same time, same place tomorrow for the news on PBCJ.
Bear in mind that the conditions are closely being monitored and you will be updated as soon as anything develops from the system.